A choir is singing from a score written across a man's bare buttocks. Look closer. The notes are real notes, 500 years old, painted with the same brush that painted the sky. And at the far edges of the picture, two owls stare straight out, past the choir, past the fire, directly at you. They have been staring since the 1490s. In 2016, the Prado put this panel under infrared light. What appeared underneath the surface of the left wing was not a correction. It was a different painting entirely, and the man who made it deliberately buried it. We will come back to what he hid, because it changes the meaning of everything else you are about to see. The stakes are simple. This is the most analyzed picture in Northern European art, and not one reading of it has ever held. So we start where the record starts, Brussels, the 30th of July, 1517. An Italian churchman walks into a palace, sees the thing on the wall, and reaches for words he does not have. His name is Antonio de Beatis, and he is a canon from Molfetta, traveling as secretary to Cardinal Luis of Aragon. He is standing in the Coudenberg Palace, the town residence of the Counts of Nassau, a house visited by heads of state. In his travel journal, he writes that there are some panels here on which bizarre things have been painted. Seas, skies, woods, meadows, people crawling out of a shell, others giving birth to birds, men and women, whites and blacks, in various activities and poses. That is the earliest surviving description of this object, 1 year after the painter died. And notice what is missing from it. No title, no subject, no explanation. A trained churchman looks at the largest and strangest picture in the room and can only list what is physically in front of him, like a man taking inventory of a crime scene he does not understand. So, let us do what he could not. The object is a triptych, 3 hinged panels, oil and grisaille on oak. The Prado inventory number is P002823, 185.8 centimeters high. The central panel is 172.5 centimeters wide, each wing 76.5. It hangs today in room 56A of the Villanueva building. In a freestanding case you can walk all the way around. The Prado dates it to between 1490 and 1500. And here is the first strange thing. It is not signed. Nowhere on the panel is there a name, a mark, a monogram. There is no contract, there is no letter, there is no receipt. And yet in more than 5 centuries, not one serious scholar has ever doubted who painted it. The hand is that unmistakable. The mind behind the hand is a total blank. He was born Geronimus van Aken in a town called 's-Hertogenbosch around 1450. He left no letters, no diaries, nothing whatsoever about what any of his pictures mean. Everything we know about him comes from municipal paperwork and the account books of a religious confraternity. Nothing is known of his personality. Nothing is known of his thoughts on the meaning of his art. But here's the thing. The paperwork is not empty. In 1463, a fire tore through his town and destroyed 4,000 houses. He would have been about 13, somewhere between 1479 and 1481. He married Aleid Goyaerts van den Merwende, a patrician's daughter, older than him and considerably richer. They had no children, and between 1474 and 1498, 14 documents record their financial transactions. 4 of them are him selling her real estate for cash, not the estate itself, her land. Perhaps, the record suggests, because painting was not bringing in enough money, Hold that thought, because it sharpens what comes next. In 1486, he joined the Brotherhood of Our Lady, an arch-conservative confraternity of some 40 influential citizens with 7,000 outer members across Europe. He entered alongside more than 350 others. 1 year later, exceptionally, he was made a sworn member. His name appears in the margin of the list of the 9 sworn brothers who attended the Swan Banquet every Christmas. So, a wealthy, married, deeply respectable pillar of a conservative religious order, painting several hundred naked bodies for a nobleman's palace. Now look at what he painted. Start with the fruit, because the fruit is how the picture got its first name. Enormous strawberries, taller than the people eating them. In the document recording its transfer to El Escorial on the 8th of July, 1593, it is called simply the picture known as Del Madrono, the strawberry tree. Not the garden, not lust. A fruit, the one that rots fastest. Look at the women in the central pool. Several balanced small round fruits on their heads, cherry-like, and in Bosch's world, cherries were not innocent. There was a proverb, "Do not eat cherries with great lords, they will throw the pits in your face." Pride, in other words, overreaching your station. Now, let your eyes travel outward from the pool. A ring of naked men rides horses, camels, unicorns, and things with no name circling the women. And they are circling anti-clockwise, backwards, against the turn of a clock, against the turn of the world. Now, the smaller cruelties, the ones you have to lean in for. A couple sealed inside a glass sphere, and the glass is cracked. A man sitting inside a red fruit, watching a mouse trapped in a transparent cylinder. Look for a child in this garden. There isn't one. Look for an old face. There isn't one either. Everybody here is young, and everybody here is at the exact age where consequence has not arrived yet. And now, the absence that should chill you. Look for God. In the left panel, he is present, blessing. In the right panel, judgment has clearly been handed down. In the center, in the largest space, in the part everyone photographs, there is no God at all. In Bosch's 2 other great triptychs, he is there. Here, he has left the room. So look at what fills the space where he should be. In the background stand 5 fantastical structures rising out of the water. The central one closely resembles the fountain of life from paradise, the source of everything, and Bosch has painted it broken. Deliberately broken, the Prado says, to signal the fragility of these delights. And inside that paradise fountain, 1 panel to the left, there sits an owl, an eye in the machinery of creation. Here is the detail that should end this section. In the center panel, in the place where that owl sat, Bosch has replaced it. The watching eye is gone, and in its window are human figures in explicitly sexual poses. The surveillance has been evicted, and the sin has moved into its house. Everything decoded so far rests on one assumption, that the left panel means what it appears to mean. It does not. Between the 31st of May and the 25th of September 2016, the Prado mounted the exhibition marking 500 years since the painter's death. It was led by Pilar Silva Maroto, and alongside the panels themselves, the museum hung something no visitor had ever been shown: the infrared reflectograph and the X-radiograph of this triptych. Infrared light passes through the upper paint layers and reads the drawing underneath, the sketch the painter made before he committed. What it found on the left wing was not a small adjustment. It was a subject he abandoned. Bosch began that panel with the creation of Eve, the standard image, the one every workshop in the Low Countries could produce, Eve emerging from the sleeping Adam's side. Then, in a second phase, he painted it out, and what he put in its place was a scene so uncommon that it barely exists elsewhere in Western art. God taking Eve by the wrist and presenting her to Adam, not creating her, giving her away. That gesture has a specific meaning, and Reindert Falkenberg and Paul van den Broek both identify it. It is the institution of marriage, which means the left wing is not a creation scene, it is a wedding. And once the left wing is a wedding, the center panel stops being sin in the abstract and becomes something far more precise. Van den Broek names it the false paradise of love, called Grail in the 15th and 16th centuries, a carnal reading of the divine instruction to be fruitful and multiply. So hold the whole shape of it, a picture commissioned for the Brussels Palace of Engelbert II of Nassau, possibly marking a marriage, as large private paintings often were, painted by a man who lived off his own wife's inherited land and sold pieces of it for cash. And the center of that picture is a garden of lovers who believe they are in paradise and are not. The Prado's own words for the message are extremely pessimistic. Now you know what he buried. But that opens a colder question. If the meaning was that specific, why has nobody ever been able to read the rest of it? Because the deeper you go, the more the picture refuses. Look at the center panel again and count the clothed figures. There is exactly one. In a garden of hundreds of naked bodies, a single man is dressed, and Wilhelm Fränge noted, he is clothed with emphatic austerity right up to his throat. He is one of the very few with dark hair. He stands at the mouth of a cave, and he is pointing. Follow his finger. He is pointing at a woman lying inside a semi-cylindrical transparent shield, her body covered in hair, her mouth sealed shut. Sealed. A woman under glass who cannot speak. Fränge described the pointing man's face at length, the hair with its sharp dip in the high forehead, the coal-black eyes rigidly focused, a gaze expressing compelling force, a face reminding him of famous men, especially Machiavelli. And 4 serious scholars have looked at that same face and reached 4 incompatible conclusions. Fränge, in 1947, said he is the man who commissioned the painting. Dirk Bax, in 1956, said he is Adam, denouncing Eve. Isabel Mateo Gomez, in 1963, said he is John the Baptist in his camel skin. Hans Belting suggested a self-portrait. 1 figure, 4 names, no agreement. Now cross into the right panel, into the cold, and find the tree man. His torso is a broken eggshell, hollowed out into a tavern where naked men sit at a table. His legs are rotting trunks that end in boats. On his head sits a disc where demons and their victims parade around an enormous set of bagpipes. And in this period, the bagpipe is a sexual emblem, doubled and unmistakable. The headgear itself resembles a painter's palette, and he is looking at you. Not at the tortures below him, not at anything inside his own world. Out, past the frame. Walter Gibson called the expression a mix of wistfulness and resignation. Belting went further and proposed the face is Bosch himself, arguing that the irony and the slightly sideways gaze would constitute the signature of an artist claiming a bizarre pictorial world as his own private property. Bosch drew this same figure separately, in pen and brown ink, 27.7 by 21.1 centimeters, now in the Albertina in Vienna, where the banner on its back carries not a bagpipe, but a crescent moon. Which brings us back to the music, and to the strangest thing anyone has ever done to this painting. On the 11th of February, 2014, Amelia Hamrick, a 20-year-old at Oklahoma Christian University, transcribed those notes into modern notation, assuming the second line of the staff was a C, as is common for chants of that era. She posted it. It went off like a bomb. 200,000 views. An interview with Anderson Cooper on CNN. She later said she threw it together in 30 minutes at 1 in the morning. And then she said the thing that matters. Nobody had recorded it before, she explained, because everybody assumed Bosch was just slapping notes on there to make it look like music, not an actual song. And she was pretty sure they were right. The musicologist Ian Pittaway examined the notation and pointed out the decisive flaw. There is no clef. Without a clef, the notes have no fixed pitch at all. Bosch painted the appearance of music. 5 centuries later, we sang it anyway. That is the trap, and it is the same trap every reader has walked into. Lorinda Dixon, in 1981, read the whole triptych as The Remnants of Alchemy. Virginia Tuttle, in 1985, found Lilith. E.H. Gombrich, in 1969, said it was the world on the eve of the flood. Franger said a heretical sect. In 2024, Xavier Derouville and Aurore Collier argued Bosch inverted the side panels on purpose to disguise a manifesto. None has held. Erwin Panofsky, one of the greatest iconologists who ever lived, wrote his Surrender in 1953. Despite all the ingenious and erudite research devoted to decoding Jerome Bosch, he said, the real secret still had to be disclosed. They had bored a few holes through the door of the locked room. Somehow, they had not found the key. But the key was never going to be in the archives, because the painting tells you where it is. Go back to the OWLS, the two that have been staring out of the frame since the beginning. In Bosch's world, the owl is not wisdom. It is the bird that sees in the dark, the silent witness that watches sin without blinking. Every reader for 5 centuries has stood in front of this panel asking what it means. The owl suggests the question is pointed the wrong way. You are not looking at the garden. The garden is looking at you. Cataloging what you stare at longest, which corner you lean into, which delight holds your eye. 500 years of scholars bored holes through the door of the locked room. Perhaps the room was never locked from the inside. If you want to keep looking where everyone else stops looking, subscribe. There is another painting that watches its watchers, and what it did to the men who owned it is the reason it became a legend. See you in the next one.